G'day punters, welcome to Victims of the Punt, powered by puntingform.com.au and themailbag.com.au. You can get Mark Roden's betting advice at themailbag.com.au. He'll be betting all 9 races of this reloaded Rosehill Golden Slipper meeting, along with Rob Scurry, who's going to be our man in the mounting yard. Boys, are we going to go ahead and race this Saturday? For sure. The weatherman is Mark Sheen.
Absolutely. Clear skies in Sydney. One of the work riders, a jockey, has tweeted this morning that he thinks it'll get to a 6 or a 7. So, we've had good weather since Tuesday, or Wednesday, I should say. So, drying weather and the track should be on the improve.
Okay. How do we expect that means the track's going to play? Or is it just too hard to guess?
I think we're guessing a little bit. What do you think, Mark?
True rail and improving. I would expect an almost standard Rosehill. I prefer on pace and I prefer off fence and straight. I think I'm not penning anything just because of the map at this stage, but I would say up and off.
And have we got an opinion, thoughts on the added noms? So they've, apart from the Golden Slipper, the horses were able to re-nominate for these every race on this card.
I think if you had a horse in, you'd be a little bit peeved. Because barrier draws are obviously different now. Some horses have come off worse, some have come off better, so probably two sides to the story. But having said that, I would say it's a much better meeting with these extra runners.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can see why some trainers in particular are a bit upset. Their setup has completely changed, but it is a much stronger card. Maybe that comes at the expense of next week. We'll have to wait and see. But what we've got tomorrow is really enticing.
Okay, well, we've got 9 of the best at Rosehill. The rail's out 3 metres and race 1's over 1,200 metres. The speed map, boys, does anyone have a crack at a speed map here?
Speed map in the first, I think Holyfield, if it jumps, will probably roll forward. Bella and Epona will be handy. I think they'll run along a fair bit in this race here. Lord Olympus will probably kick up towards the lead as well. What did you think, Mark?
I thought Matchmaker was another one of the go forward. That was actually a pretty fast race at Kenzo, and it was leaders back there. So I imagine they push on with her as well. So it should be reasonable, the speed anyway.
Koch and Soda, do you have a lean here?
Look, I've said before I don't really like backing them off peaks or spikes, but I'm not sure if this is a spike. I think she's pretty smart, my Busher. That was the last 100 of that win down the straight. You were on it, weren't you, Dicko?
Yeah, thank God too. I think the great man Sheen was on too, weren't you? Off the trial.
Yes, I was on it. God bless it.
Yes. Well, I was
particularly. It absolutely gapped in late, didn't it?
Yes, well, it burst through with about 150 to go, and its last 100 just savaged. I think she's pretty smart. I think she's drawn to get a good run, fairly handy to midfield from barrier 5. And if she repeats that, I certainly think she's the one to beat.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same here. She's unknown at 1,200, but I think the way she attacks the line, she should be no problem. She's won on a slow 7 at her first start in a race. So, again, I don't think it'll be too bad a problem. She'll get a lovely run here. I still think Andermatt's got a good chance.
Yeah.
With the revised draw, he comes in a little bit closer from 18 to 4 now from last week. So, and the wet track certainly in his favour. So, although Tommy Gull didn't really frank that form from that Wild Ruler race yesterday, but Mar Busher from Andermatt for me. I think Prague's come off worse than the barrier draw and Doubtland as well.
Yeah, agree with that. Isotope's the other one. Fresh back to 1,200, she's got a chance, but I think she's her right price for sure.
No interest at all. Number 4, Odium.
I'm just worried coming back in distance myself, back to 1,200 metres.
Second up back in trip's not one of mine, to be honest, but has competitive figures.
And as a rule, how do you guys handle? You've got like some of the best Victorian riders in town. Boys would have had a day off last Saturday and would have been spewing about the amount of cash they gave away there at Mornington. But now they get their chance to get that money back. We know how much they love it, especially these Victorian boys, so they're going to be thirsty. How do you handle it?
Oh, the most have ridden in Sydney before. I don't think it makes much difference. It's just a race.
Yeah, if it's if Oliver's replacing a second string Sydney jockey, I just consider it a plus. I try not to delve into the psychology of it too much, mate.
Maybe I should start to listen to you more. Race 2, boys, is a 2,400 metre race to Group 3. There doesn't look to be a heap of speed outside of... They're both gays, aren't they? Hush Ryder and Sacramento.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should control it.
When they get controlled, do we see a sort of a slowdown through the middle section and a bit of a slow tempo overall here?
I would say not, because Skymax will be camped on him, and one of his 2 wins that he's recorded in Australia, he took off mid-race when they were walking at Warwick Farm in a midweek race. So if they want to play funny buggers up front, he'll be keeping them honest. But I expect those 2 to lead, and if the tempo is genuine, at least he should be just camped on him.
Mr. Sheen?
Look, I tipped a do start last week. I'm going to stick with him, just hoping the track is wet enough for him. I think Shiro was a very good run first up, and I think conditions suit him as well to some extent. And Collide looked a bit gross to me first up, and is certainly a yard watch. Not sure about his credentials in this sort of ground, but he looked a big, strong type and certainly improved with the run the other day. I think it's a tricky race. Would like to have a look at favourite Moon in the Yard as well, but 10 on top for me at the moment.
Race 3, 900 metres again, another Group 3.
Hang on, do you want to know what I like in race 2? Sorry.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry. I'll keep it brief. I like to Collide. It's got good soft track form, and if we're in the soft range, he's got good overseas soft track form. If we're in that range, that'll suit him, and 2400 is what he wants. Originally last week, when I thought it was going to be a heavy 12, I wanted to back Quick Thinker, but I've had to come off him a bit. I think if it's going to be a 7, that's not quite wet enough for him in this class. Shraro, I thought was terrific first up in a stronger race than this. Wet a plus and a nice price. I'll definitely be on him. Probably on Collide, and I'll have to monitor this favourite Moon as well, who is down on the limit weight and on its best overseas figures could be winning this as well. So I'd certainly want one of the new imports or recent imports over the... there's not many locals, are they? The more established imports. Sacramento's still favourite, not for me tomorrow.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fresh import or an old import, really. Isn't it?
That's right.
That's how Australian staying races are.
So.
Okay, now we head to race 3. It's a 900-metre race. Some older horses, some younger horses here. Mark Sheen, anything that took your fancy at all here?
Well, look, She's Ideal had barrier 15 last week, and she comes into barrier 2, so I think that's a big plus for her to take up a more forward position. The big query is if Ice Bath gets a run here, it's second emergency. She'll relish any wet track conditions coming back from a dry track in the Coolmore. So the big query is if she gets a run. If she doesn't get a run, I think She's Ideal has got a perfect setup for her.
And if Ice Bath gets a run, I'll back her. It's her first try at the trip, and she's probably going to go back from that gate. But I think she is just incredibly well placed with 54 kilos here, and I just have to be on her. She's Ideal, yes, much better draw for her than in the original last week, but if Ice Bath doesn't run, what is she, sub 2 to 1 or something? That's I don't think I could bring myself to back it. Probably have something on Attention Run, who I mentioned last week, has won a couple of times in the 1600 to 1800 metre range, so I don't think 1900 will be a problem. She's well drawn and likes the soft, and if she's double figure odds, I'll probably be on her. Oh, and I mentioned last, I don't know if this applies anymore. I was giving a stupid chance to the Queenslander Willow Tito at big odds because it was going to be on a 7-day backup on a heavy track. Now it's 14-day backup on a soft track, but having mentioned it, it looks like it might be 100 to 1 plus come jump time, so I'll have to have a coin on it anyway.
Just for your mental health, you have to...
Yeah, absolutely. If it won without me at that price, you know what it is.
Especially early in the day, you can sort of... Late in the day, you can just sort of pack up shop. You still got to deal with another 7 races here, so you can't sort of lose your shit just off $100 shots.
No. Don't have to have much on at that price.
Race 4, the Ranvet Group 1. So we've got an international trained horse with an import jockey. Its favourite. Is it just Win? And does Sky just go off their nah about the one import they get that stays? Like, how much coverage will this horse get, do you think, in the lead up and post race when it wins?
Yeah, well, that $3 million track at Canterbury is going to pay for itself. So I think it'd be hard to beat a Dave. Won the race last year. Of course, we've got a few more in the race with the postponement. We've got Sir Dragonite, Colette, an outstanding wet tracker who'll certainly relish getting back on this sort of ground. An Angel of Truth is going to run them along a little bit, you'd expect. So, but I still think a Dave's the one to beat.
I agree. I said last week that there was only a 5-horse field, but it was something like 190, 210 a day, very elegant, and I said that wasn't a big enough gap. And they've had another go at it, and they seem to agree with me. There is a bigger gap between them in percentage terms this time, but I still think he's a class above them. If Angel of Truth doesn't want to lead, he'll lead himself, and they won't get past him, I think. This is not my price range, but I think 210's attractive. I just think he'll be too good for them. I mean, if you took, I mean, even on a wet track, if you took a horse to Colette to the UK, they wouldn't. It'd be 50 to 1 in a field like, you know, in one of their better races, and a day wins their better races. So I just think he should be too good for them.
From a betting point of view, Mark, we've spoken about this privately a few times. You sort of coached me. If you're going to steam into a $2 shot, that's your one and only bet 9 times out of 10 in a race?
Yeah. Look, in a field of 9, yeah, in a market shape like this, there's no way you can save, I don't think. If you like one at evens in an 18-horse handicap or something, there was something at 50s or 100s, you just wanted to chop out and you could do that. But yeah, if you want to take 210 a day, if you're saying this is, a class above the field, and you're not really thinking contingency plans.
I thought Miami Bound's going to run a pretty good race, and he's big odds here. Don't think it can win, but it was very, very good last start, and it's going to improve on the heavy and the soft.
She's definitely a wet tracker. I'd be approaching her if you like. There was a place bet, probably.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have to from how just keen you two are on the other thing. Race number 5. What is this? Another 2,000 metre race. Group 1, Rosehill Guineas. Now, this is a fascinating race. Fascinating. Luna Fox continues to keep racing. I found this horse fascinating in the All-Star Mile. Like it more than backed up. It's like out of the box run in the Australian Guineas. Where are you leaning here, Mark? Shin?
Well, Luna Fox I was originally opposed to because he was on that quick backup after the hard run in the All-Star Mile with the 7 days, but obviously things have fallen into his lap a little bit better here, so I wouldn't say he's hopeless by any stretch of the imagination. I think Lions Raw's got decent odds. I know Moanga should have beaten him the other day, but there does seem to be a big gap in the price here, and he certainly looked like he would have more improvement than Moanga. Skylab, who I thought had a good chance, has come up with a much worse barrier, come up with barrier 15, but got James McDonald in a bigger field now. So I think they're only about 11 in it last week or so, and now there's a field of 15. So that makes his job a little bit harder. Look, just on a price thing, I'm going with Lions Raw. I just can't get them that far apart. I think he's won on the heavy, and he had further improvement. Moanga obviously hard to beat, and Skylab will be having a saver on as well.
Yeah, he's too short now. I didn't think he was a flash price last week in the markets they had for the original field for this race. But yeah, 270, 280, and Lions Raw $8. Far too big a gap. I know Lions Raw's got a bit of a sticky gate, but and I know the track's improving. I mean, Moanga won his maiden on a heady, but that was against the absolute blind. Every run he's had since has been on dry. There's no guarantee he wants even a 7, I think. It's just another reason not to take the short price. So what to actually back? I thought Luna Fox was fantastic in the All-Star Mile. Probably don't want to lose him, but I think he's been to his top.
It easily runs third if it doesn't get smacked on the
board.
board.
It raced very tight, didn't it?
And to get smacked with the preparation it's had and then not give up, Jesus.
But how much of advantage was it on the rail, Dicko? He was right on the fence, which was a one-lane highway, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely like suited in run.
Yeah.
The position wasn't run, but it was like winded in run, and that's against horses that are like
they're good
far
horses.
superior to these things.
Yeah, and also whether, I suppose everyone thought the Australian Guineas would knock him out. Whether that run against, the top class horses is going to knock him out, I don't know. But he is big odds. So
having said that, I'm not actually backing him. If I was going to back a horse here, it'd be number 8, Koki. Quay.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm good at that, aren't I? Imagine if I was the race scholar machine. Jesus Christ. Anyway, number 8. I really like this horse. It handles heavies too. Wet tracks. Form's strong. It doesn't run badly. It's carried Fred Kersley most of its life. It's got Kieran McAvoy on for the second time. It's drawn well. Seems big price to me.
Just 400,000 worth of prize money short of Kerrin's best range, though. I think it's only 600.
It's almost enough, and he sort of wants to just, he wants to ride a couple of winners to get that mojo back, for the big ones.
It's 600 grand's probably enough to get him interested, I would say. But
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Race 6,
anyway,
boys.
Just to get, I Entertain Lions Raw at $8. I think that's overs. What the hell do you do with Grand Slam? Just ignore that run or what?
No, they were not trying the first two times it ran around. They notified Shields are going to roll forward. It was an absolute fill for in-run punters who do form. Like if the jumps well and leads here at the Valley, let's take SP.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if you take that at anything approaching face value, $8 is a good price him as well. So the only thing I'm certain, I'm not. Look, to be honest, I haven't finalised what I'm going to do here, but it's going to be around no longer. So we can Entertain Lions Raw, Grand Slam, Montefilia up to 2,000. It looks like she's on the drift as well. And the other half dozen we've mentioned. But I think we're probably, the only consensus we've reached here is that we don't want to be on no longer.
There was a lot of love for Montefilia first up, second up, wasn't there?
I thought she was going. I backed her first up, and she was a massive shortener. Thought the fast run 1400 against some pretty, what appeared to be a pretty average bunch of fillies would suit her, but she couldn't get into the race. She needs the trip. You're taking on just a bit, but obviously 2,000 what she wants.
Yeah, cool. I did think with Grand Slam, I never thought I'd ever say these words, but I do think Jay Carr suits that horse better than Mark Zara. So, whatever that's worth. Just prefer her on a free rolling front runner than Mark. Race number 6, the George Ryder Stakes, 1,500 metres, Group 1. 1,500 metres, guys, a very common distance at Rosehill. Just for anyone who's getting into their racing in Sydney. This is a good race, guys. This is a really nice race. There's some fascinating setups here. One of the most fascinating for me, Dalasan, 1,200. They tried it in the Group 1. Now it's back out to 1,500. Like, if you think at home you've got head noise, come and talk to me first, but then go and talk to Dalasan, because they wouldn't know what's going on. Dalasan was knocked off in the SA Darby by Russian Camelot. Then I was up against September Run. Like, fuck. Anyway, what are we doing here, boys?
I've switched with the drawing track to Fun Star. I did give it life a while ago, but I just think this barrier and the way the race is going to be run is a good setup for her. She was in the slightly inferior ground at Ranvet last time out, and I think she will get a perfect run here. And I think the improving track is definitely in Gem Song's favour, heavy back to hopefully around the slow mark. So I think he looks value to me at his current price, and Avilius probably not as well suited. Look, it's suited by a wet track, but the drying track probably not so much, as opposed to what we were going to get last week.
Yeah, well, we can keep this one short because I'm in complete agreement. I also had given Funstar life. Actually said she should have been retired after her first up run, which is probably a bit of hyperbole, unusually for me. I said I wanted to be on her last week, and I think she's just as well placed this week, and she's actually a little bit better price, I think, than what we were getting last week. So, yep, definitely Funstar and definitely Gem Song. I was gonna roll the dice on the heavy 10 last week just because I loved his Newcastle win so much. I expect him to be much better suited on the drying track. So they're my two as well. And I expect Avilius will drift as the track improves.
No love for Colding?
Look, drying track is a plus compared to last week, but gate 13 with that the other leaders inside him, they're going to have to make a decision. I think he'd need everything to go right.
Race number 7 is the Golden Slipper. It's a 1200 metre Group 1. It's the biggest and the best race for 2-year-olds in Australia. One scratching, President from C. Waller, but the field is as was last week. Has anything changed for either of you two now with the week off?
Well, I think President coming out has changed the speed to somewhat. There was some talk that he might go up and take on Profiteer, even though I didn't think that would be the case. But he might have been there trying to put it to Profiteer, at least in the middle stages. So Profiteer might just get a softer time for it a little bit further if he does settle in the run as opposed to pulling. But I'm on stay inside still. I think he'll get a perfect run from the gate. 4 moves ahead for second for me. So they're the two I like in the race.
Yeah, the setup, I'm going to stick with, as my main play in the race, Ingratiating at the price. I really like the 7-day backup and blinkers on last week when the race was going down to be run last week, but it's still obviously set to peak. There was blinkers off last time, off the big run in the Diamond, and blinkers back on to have another go. Do think stay inside and 4 moves ahead will be very hard to beat. I'm against Profiteer, as I've said 100 times. I think he just goes too keen and runs slow late sections, and he's a very good 2-year-old, but he will be vulnerable in that last 100, I think. And this will depend on price, but the other 2 out of the Diamond, which I've said a few times, is my pick as the strongest form line of the 2-year-olds this year. Anamoe and Artorias. I mean, they don't map well, to be honest with you. But if I could get double-figure odds, both of those, I'd probably look to top out on them. But I'll be winning on Ingratiating. I'm not super confident about the race, to be honest, though.
Any pearls for young blokes out there trying to figure out how to find horses like 2-year-olds that haven't seen a heavy or a soft track, as to like an inkling as how you might think this horse could handle it or this horse won't?
Well, I'm a breeding man in that regard. It's like I'm not a breeding expert by any means, but I like to look at size on wet tracks and for horses attempting a trip for the first time. So that's where it comes in very useful. If you want to get a bit more esoteric than that, then looking at their actions, horses who get their knees up high in their actions tend to be better on soft than dry, but you are guessing a bit, of course.
We get plenty of wet weather up here, so we
Let's go to the trials if you. Okay, race 8, 1100 metres, another Group 1. It's the Galaxy. Poor old Jungle Edge. He almost won a Group 1 last week. He would have been backed again.
He got into about 11-2 on Betfair at one stage there. They left the Nord off its price.
Oh, mate, it's unbelievable. Like, every time it rains, you just watch it. You could trade if you can get on. You can trade every time, but they'll be getting a little bit less keen as the reports come through there from our man Mark Sheen that it's going to be like a soft 6 or 7. Where are we headed here, boys? What are we doing?
I'm with Hortbury on her here. Just think she'll settle off the speed. Looks to be good speed underneath, and they should run along, and I think she'll just park off them and comes in with 1 kilo less, or even though McDonald will probably ride 1 kilo over, but had 55 last week and now it's got 54. So just on weights alone, from what they were given, meets Tallulah a kilo better for not even racing last week. So a bit strange. But anyway.
So you love the trials?
Sorry, mate?
You love the trials for Hot
I think she's trialled better this time in than previously, and she doesn't carry much condition. She's won in the wet, obviously been set for this race. So I think that run against Guitra last time in, where she stayed on the fence in the worst going and was probably over the top after a tough run in the Everest, certainly suggested that she was right up to this level of race. So 4 on top for me. I was going to have a saver on Splintex last week, but he's the one that's come out badly with the revised barrier draw. So I'm just with Hortbury on her here, number 4.
Cochin?
Yeah, me too. She was my best of the day last week, and no reason to change this week. I think $5 is a great price. McDonald's listed in the probable weight as 54.5, which he doesn't get down to 54.5 very often. So he's keen to give her every chance. For all the reasons mentioned, I think she's clearly the one to beat. I think Tyre will get out a bit from her current price. I think Wild Ruler that's about as short. $6.50, $7 is about as short as you can get him in a race like this. I know he's promising and has no weight, but this is a pretty good field, and I won't be losing on dirty work. I think it just goes straight back, which is not usually a recipe for success at the Rosehill 1100, but it's a galaxy. They should be running along, and I really like this run plate. So at decent double figure odds, I'll be saving on him, but very keen what we're on there.
Oh, yeah. Righto. The lucky last, 1,200 metres, the birthday card stakes, the Group 3. Mark Sheen, Tullyhurst scratched. I saw Dom Byrne and maybe the Surfing Hunter. And he's a very astute guy on Twitter. They were at it.
Peter Lawrence, I think it was.
Peter Lawrence. So they were at it about the sort of not nomming this horse to affect weights. Was there anything in that?
I think it was more to do with the nature strip race, wasn't it? It might have been to do with this as well. I only looked at it briefly, but it was in this race last week as well, wasn't it, Mark?
Sorry?
It was in the birthday card last week as well.
Yeah. And the suggestion is it's to get Emanate in on the limit. But, Tricky Gal's there anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
Okay, there you go. Sorted. Back to the betting.
Okay, this is dead set pin job here. When I looked at the weights, I said Wonder Bar is a living moral, and it's come up with Farrier 15. So look, I'm still going to back it if you can make ground at some stage. If there's any inkling that you can make some ground, I think she's the best wet tracker in the race. Away from that, I don't like Written Beauty. I don't like Emanate. I'm going to have a spec on Seasons and Way Up in the Sky, but I hope I'm winning coming to the last.
Yeah,
this is great. Yeah, I've got the two written down here, Wonder Bar and Seasons. So we've come up with exactly the same two again. It's going to be feast or famine by the look of it on come tomorrow. But I agree. You've just got to shut your eyes and hope. She was so good first up, though, Wonder Bar. I'd just love to get her to Ranvet on a wet track. She'd be over the line in the right race. But we'll take the punt here because she won't get much shorter than this with her map, I don't think. So just have to be on at that price. Seasons was outstanding first up, right back to her best, likes the wet. If the fence isn't completely gone, and I think nearest fence in run will be okay all day. If she can get to the right part of the track, she's right in it and backable odds. I might shop out on Emanate if she gets a bit better than this because I think she is so well weighted with 53.5. Especially to go off her second up run at this track. So, that's where I'm going, but Wonder Bar and Season's the main plays for me.
Beautiful work, boys. So, obviously, clearly, our best bet. We're just pressing hard here on Hawkbury on her, yeah? In the Galaxy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anything else for the punters at home outside of that?
I'm going to lay Written Beauty in the last, and but it looks a tricky day, mate. We're guessing a bit the pattern of the day, and hopefully the track is on the improve and it does race pretty fair. That's the fingers crossed.
Cochin, anything to add?
We've covered it pretty comprehensively. I think Shraro's good odds in the second and Ingratiating's good odds in the slipper, but I'm not anywhere near as confident about either of those two as I'm about HBH in the Galaxy.
Beautiful work, boys. Mark, what meetings are you covering over the next little bit?
We've got Golden Slippy Day at Rosehill tomorrow, Dicko, for a start. And I think there's Wong as well tomorrow, and pretty solid card next week, starting with Newcastle on Tuesday. So nothing Sunday, Monday, but 2 meetings tomorrow and back for Newcastle Tuesday. You won't know yourself. All right, head to the mailbag.com.au, get Mark's stuff, support him. And boys, best of luck on a very tricky card tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks, Dicko.